Let's do it.
What up? What up?
What
What
up?
up?
Oh man.
Welcome back.
All right, brother. So
All right. So I heard we got a question.
we did get a question. So Sam put out this question on Instagram. I think Sam likes me doing this more than I like me doing this, or us doing it. But yeah. So she asked a question for this 20-minute speed cast, is what she's calling it. And yeah, one of the questions that was submitted was, what's your biggest fear? And I thought that was rather appropriate to pick, just because, you know, we're living in a crazy time. There's a lot of panic out there, and you know, maybe we can jump into the reason why we're doing this in another one. But ultimately, in a nutshell, like, this whole podcast was started because of self-discovery. So
Yeah.
You know, I think fear kind of fits right in the context. So we got 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
20 minutes.
All right. Do you want to go first?
Let me set a timer. All right. Timer's going.
20 minutes starting now.
20 minutes go.
Fear.
What's my biggest fear? So, without really having thought about it, because she just gave me this question like a minute ago, I think my biggest fear is to forget.
To forget.
I've said this before, and the person that I heard it from her name's Amy Cuddy. She's a relatively known author. She wrote a book on human psychology. But when I first got out of the military, I went into this, I don't really want to call it depression, but I kind of went into this funk where, you know, I really didn't know who I was, like, who's Till without the uniform. And we've talked about this offline before.
Yeah.
So I kind of, and I'll make a big circle to come back to the point of forgetting why that's my biggest fear. So I didn't really know how to fit into life or society or anything for that matter, right? Because everything that I had known was just taken from me, and within a matter of months. Now, granted, I knew, you know, my medical retirement was at some point coming, but it was about a 3-year process. So, you know, at some point you just kind of chalk it up to bureaucracy and things that are happening, and, you know, just at some point I'll find out. You don't really expect it to happen, you know, one day and then 6 weeks later you don't have a job.
Right.
And, you know, I did what I had to do to kind of posture for that and get ready. But yeah, so when I got out, I started really kind of not breaking down my own psyche, but kind of going back to, you know, my early ages and trying to figure out, like, who's Till without all of this outside convoluting influence. And, you know, I had some really great self-discovery. And I started watching a lot of TED Talks, and I started, you know, really trying to dig into some intellectual things, stuff that really didn't necessarily interest me before, especially, you know, I went back to get my degree and, you know, started reading a lot. And anyway, one of the TED Talks that I listened to was Amy Cuddy's. And I was like, man, she's super interesting. She was talking about, like, you know, how your posture, it non-verbally communicates, you know, as far as making an impression or, exuding dominance or whatever. So I started researching her a little bit more, and she has another TED Talk out there where she's talking about her personal story. And, it goes from one to the next. And she had, a tragic accident when she's in college, but she had a really hard time connecting with people after that accident, because she was no longer who she was before. And that's kind of how I felt, because, my network was basically stripped from me. The people that I knew, they were just kind of going on with their lives. I always explain the military transition like you're on a bullet train, the door opens, you get thrown out of the train, and you're somewhere in the desert, you're tumbling in the sand for a while. And then when you come to, you see the train just bulleting off in the distance. And by the time you kind of gain your composure, it's gone. And the system is designed to move on. So I wasn't upset about that fact, because, that's life, that happens, and every job ends. And that's just the way it is. So
yeah.
Anyway, I listened to this TED Talk from her, the second one, and she said something that profoundly changed the way I thought about myself. And it was, the way that you tell your story to yourself matters. So, while I was on my self-discovery mission, I kind of went back to my childhood and, really started digging through some things. And, I kind of thought about my path, from coming out of a broken home to, experiencing life with step siblings and a stepfather, which, was amazing. And granted, we had our challenges and it wasn't always perfect, but, at the end of the day, I don't think anyone's upbringing is 100% perfect. So, then leaving Germany, coming over here, not knowing the language really hardly at all. I remember there was a situation when my brother and I got out of the car for the first time at the school in Oregon. And, we, of course, were dressed different. We looked completely different. We were from a different country. I mean, we were teenagers in Europe in the early 90s when, the hip hop culture was really sweeping the Western world. So we walked up to the school with our baggy pants, and it's atrocious. But anyway, oh man, we must have looked like fools. But hey, whatever. We thought we were super cool.
Y'all was super cool.
I mean, bro, we were in the car and we're like, first person that looks at us. So we get out of the car, and it's like, end of the daytime. Everyone's outside waiting for the bus. And they look at us. And, bro, they all start snickering and talking. And it was, and when you can't understand people talking about you is one thing, but when you know they're talking about you and you can't understand what they're saying, that's like straight trauma, right? We were like, oh my God. And of course, everybody that looked, no one got anything. We were like, oh, let's just go inside.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was challenging, being uprooted like that from your social network. I mean, my entire family lived within, basically 5, 10, 15 minutes from us, some super close, some a little further. But I mean, I grew up with my cousins, and, leaving grandparents and aunts, uncles, and that connection. I mean, my parents told us in December of 1997 that we were moving to the US. And we were like, oh, crazy, when? They're like, in April. And we were like, what? So like we had, less than 120 days to say our goodbyes and enjoy the rest of the time. And, back then technology was not what it is today, I mean, we weren't able to communicate with them through FaceTime and Facebook. I mean, we like hand wrote letters, you know, and then it would take 2 weeks for them to get to Germany, or a week, or I'm not sure, but it took a while. So, you know, we had phone cards that we bought in the States, and we would,
I remember. Yeah.
MCI had a legit rate, like
Yeah.
6 cents a minute or something. Um, anyway, so yeah, like all of those things. And then, you know, the high school was rough to a degree, just because, you know, it's also foreign. But we did the best we could. We made some amazing friendships, and, you know, I'm still in touch with people today that I met 20 years ago. So, you know, it's something to be said about that. And then, you know, of course, we left there and moved to Florida. And anyway, so I say all of that to say this, that, you know, the military was kind of a safe haven for me. It was a way to identify to myself who I was, and, you know, it gave me a certain sense of call or a purpose. And, you know, that was all taken away. So, you know, while I was thinking and while I was remembering, and this is something I still try to do today, and is try to remember the feeling that I felt when I felt a certain way, right? So when I had certain moments where I came out of a struggle, or I realized that maybe things aren't as bad as they initially seem, I try to remember what those things felt like. And, you know, the same thing goes for people. I try to remember how people made me feel, right? Because at the end of the day, it's not what people say or people do. It's how they make you feel. And the people I care about, you know, the people that mean something to me in my life, I try not to forget that. And I try not to forget how they make me feel and why they make me feel the way I feel about them.
Yeah.
And I'm not perfect at it by any means. I mean, I'm human too. And, you know, I probably could pick the phone up more, or send a quick text. But yeah, at the end of the day, my biggest fear is to not remember how to be me. That I get so wrapped up in something that I'm doing, like being in the military. And not saying that me being in the military wasn't me, because it's certainly a part of me, but it's not all I am. And it's not all I've ever been. So there's a lot of layers and complexity to your story and your path and who you are. And I don't want to ever forget that, because that makes me a better father, right? Remembering how I felt when, I don't know, say my parents got in a fight. You know, you don't think about that, how that affects your children when you're sitting next to them. And, you know, I mean, you know, this, me and Sam hardly ever fight, but, you know, if there's conflict, kids can feel that. And if I'm frustrated, I'm more likely to maybe lash out, or say something I don't necessarily mean. So I try to remember that. I try to remember how I felt if that was happening when I was a kid, or I try to remember what brought me joy when I did certain things with my family or parents, because those things all shaped me into the person that I am today. And I don't want to ever forget that, because I feel like my path and my story matters to myself. And I'm proud of where I am, no matter where that may be. You know, and more recently, of course, you know, I think I struggled through the biggest hurdle that any man could ever struggle, outside of outright losing a child. But I was on the verge of that, right? And if you've ever looked down that path and you've ever had to realize that this is a certain potential reality, remember how that made you feel, and remember how you were fighting to get past that. And all of those feelings, all of those emotions, all of those lessons learned in that grinding and grueling process, I don't ever want to forget that. Because if you forget, then you forget who you are. So that's my biggest fear, is to forget how my story was written.
Well, damn. No, I get that 1,000%. We've talked a lot about our stories and really the process that me and you both went through, during that time.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely forms us and shapes us. And forgetting is one of those things where, I agree with you. You're sitting here talking, and I'm definitely listening to you. At the same time, I'm trying to figure out. Well, I know I'm trying to make myself be vulnerable, which is a little challenging.
Just do it, bro. Let it go. It's just me and you talking.
Yeah.
What if I realized I wasn't recording now?
I think I have a lot of certain anxieties or fears. And I think one of my biggest ones is, I guess not really loving myself, not really believing in myself. I think over my life, I've had a lot of hurdles with going through learning disabilities, things like that. And during that process, you kind of lose faith in you, just because I felt as though, I'm going to say, I wasn't being trained not to feel smart or to know that you are. But in the environment that you're in, and almost everybody around you, no matter if it was teachers or other kids, are almost, being implied that you're not intelligent, or you can't do this, or you can't do that. And over a time, if you're not smart enough mentally to understand that, you're going to believe that. If as a young kid being told a certain thing, you're going to believe it. Unfortunately, I think I fell through that crack of belief where my mind just started to believe it. And the fear of not really loving myself or believing that I was good enough to be smart. The story that I was telling myself, because I didn't have the skills at that time as a young boy to kind of understand my own story.
Mm-hmm.
We're adults now. We can look back on an event that we did yesterday or a couple of years ago, and we can be like, all right, well, I learned from that. But as a young kid, if you don't know that, the story that you've been shown and you basically everybody is kind of pushing towards you, it's very challenging to know the difference.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I struggle with, self-confidence and self-care. I think it's really important this month, being this mental awareness month, for us to kind of pause and to maybe take a look in the mirror and ask yourself that question. I know this was a broader question in terms of fear.
Yeah.
But
well, that's scary. To
it's
tear
very
your
scary.
layers down, it's scary.
It is. Because I think as a man, especially as a Black man, we've been taught to be strong no matter what, because we have to be.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get to a point where you do feel like you're in a safe place, no matter if you're talking to a counselor or if you're talking to, your dad or a best friend or anybody. You can make yourself vulnerable. Hell, I hesitated before I even started talking, to make myself vulnerable. It's very challenging, but at the end of the day, the end result is that you're going to speak truth. And that's the one thing I think that this world needs more of with ourselves is truth.
Mm-hmm.
It takes, it could take a lot out of you,
Okay.
but if you can look yourself in the mirror and have that conversation, you're going to be winning either way. You can lie to your friend, your girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever you with, but you can't lie to yourself. Eventually, what the hell is going on. And you're trying to create this false self-image to make yourself feel better. At the end of the day, it's going to catch up with you. So why not go ahead and admit the truth to yourself and take yourself to the next level? But yeah, my biggest fear is kind of losing that self-confidence, that self-love that I know for me has been a struggle. I feel it. I found it. Matter of fact, like this week was kind of a struggle for me, just mentally with everything that's kind of going on in the world, everything that's going on with me personally. It's challenging, but it's real. And that's the thing, I'm not sure who asked this question, but I'm pretty sure, shut up. But I'm pretty sure,
we'll go 10
right?
Minutes,
no, we gonna go past that. I'm pretty sure
that,
but I'm pretty sure, their fears or their issues or whatever, it's something that I don't look at as a weakness, with myself for asking this question. It does make you vulnerable when you put yourself out there. But yeah, man, but at the end of the day, that's something that I'm working toward every single day, to tell my story to myself, to say, hey, look, like, hey, just love you. If I can't love myself, nobody else can love me. They can try to, but I can't get that affirmation from them that I want to be like, oh, I want somebody to love me and make me feel so good. I'm the only one that can do that. So, and I know that's a message. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but you gotta love you before anybody else can love you. So,
yeah,
I
can't. The comment section might fill up, but no, I fully agree. I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with trying to break down all of those societal norms that you've been taught, all of those, isms that people apply to what does it mean to be a man? What does it mean to be a father? What does it mean to be a parent or a husband? Or like, at the end of the day, none of that matters, man. Like, everybody has their own experiences. Everyone has their own story that they write. And I mean, realistically, how dare you take somebody else's isms and make them your own? You're your own person.
That's true. But this is the thing I struggle with is and you kind of mentioned, is the story that you tell yourself. I don't think that really, unless there's somebody maybe close to you that you ask them a question and they kind of are honest and they kind of tell you what you think, but that's a place really where it really doesn't matter. What really matters is those inner voices that are in your own head.
Yeah.
Those are going to cause you that hesitation. Those voices, those thoughts, those ideas are going to cause you to pause and say, oh, no, I don't want to do that because I don't think I'm smart enough. Or, oh, I don't want to do that because, she'll get mad at me. Oh, I don't want to do that because, they'll think I'm stupid or this, that, and the third. Like, who cares? That's the thing that you have to get past, that we all have to get past. We create the story or the world that we want to be in. If we want to be in this place of drama and hesitation and whatever it is, that's what it's going to be, because we're thinking it up here.
100%.
Our thoughts determine our reality. And if we're gonna have, I don't even want to call them bad thoughts. You know, they're just the ideas that you put into your own head that you think about that may put you on a different path, cause you to hesitate. You know, if I'm going to, let's say, I don't know, in terms of we're playing a basketball game, and for whatever particular reason, let's say I'll need to score 30 points to win the game, right?
Your name is Mike.
There you go. And I tell myself, yeah, I can't do that. Then you're not going to do it. You know, if I tell myself, oh, I think I can, yeah, you're still not going to do it. But if I tell myself I can, and I go out there and I believe wholeheartedly in myself and my abilities, and let's just say this is not true, but let's just say I didn't have those skills and those abilities. You know what I mean? The belief that you can, that's it right there. So even with this podcast that me and you are doing right now, like we talked about it forever, and we could have still kept talking about it.
But we did some, and I mean, we started.
We started, but my point is that we were talking about it for a long time, and you know, life got in the way. But at the same time, right now, we didn't hesitate. There was no fear. There was no hesitation.
No.
The expectation and the idea that we had in place was all good. You know, oh God, what are they going to say about us? Are they going to have bad comments? I don't care.
I don't either.
Right. But the point is that those could have been thoughts that could have caused us hesitation and caused anybody else to hesitate. But the mindset, the story that we told, the focus that we had, there you go. You know, focus on the good instead of like the what if and the bad.
Yeah. What is possible, right? Like, what can we do with this? Who knows? And right now, I don't care. I know I love it. And that's it. And no one else has to love it. Me and you are going to have these conversations regardless, whether it's right here or face to face or in the driveway or on the patio, wherever.
There you go.
It
on
matters none.
So on that note, is there any other fear or ideas that you have in any comments?
Them snakes, man.
Them snakes.
Them snakes.
As long as they're not those what are those Asian wasps or bees or something like that?
Killer hornets?
Store? The killer hornets? Yeah.
I think they're only called killer hornets because they eat.
Well, I saw some story.
Certain
murder hornets or murder hornets.
I don't know, bro. Right now,
I can't even say it. Whatever.
It sounds like Sharknado. I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
No.
Cool.
No, I don't. I mean, I think what I said pretty much threads into my entire life. You know, husband, kids. You know, being a good son. I try not to forget how much I care about, you know, my parents or my siblings. And, you know, life gets in the way. And unfortunately, we don't do as much as we should. I try to, when I think about somebody, to send them a text. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, because with me, with the fear, you know, it's one of those things. It's there. You know, sometimes that hesitation will be there, but I think if we have the courage to not even look past it, but to walk up to it, you know, stare it in the face, you know, and just believe in yourself, believe in your faith, and who you are, your family, friends, everything like that. But most of the time, I think what we think about is it's not even going to come true. But
no, what's the saying? 99% of the things you're worried about will never come true.
Exactly. There you go.
And you don't need to be afraid of loving yourself, bro. You're Michael Carter, and I think you're a phenomenal human.
Thanks, man.
No doubt. All right, so that's it for the Speedcast. We did what 20? Okay, we went 28 minutes, but hey, cool. we run this.
That'll work. That'll work.
All right, brother. I love you, man.
All right, bye. Love you too.